All right. Good night. Good night. Good night, everyone. Welcome to the Fatherhood Think Tank. Another 90 minutes of intellectual conversation between fathers who come from all walks and stations in life, taking topics that are even theories to a next level. Tonight, I'm Dr. Ron, the curator, facilitator of the Fatherhood Think Tank. And look like we have two of our faithful fathers who always here to spend this conversation, this time to come together, have our weekly conversation. And tonight's topic, um, I just want to welcome people tonight. Tonight's topic is it's one that came up this week, this over the holiday weekend, and some things I was looking at, some things I was involved with. So I kind of like said, let me bring it to the tank. Let's run it in and wash it through and see how it plays out in a big part of how things are today. So with that being said, let me first, before I get to our guest, um, th- thank our sponsors. And one of the things I would say is if you're watching this, if you're going to watch it, you watch it later. Hey, if you haven't done so, hit down the bottom, like, share, subscribe on Facebook, on the YouTube pages, because the message, the conversation, we want it to get out. We want more people to participate. I don't even care if you participate, just to hear the conversation. I mean, I know we listen to all kinds of things, podcasts and stuff that, sometimes don't even really got anything to do with us in our day to day life, that we can't even connect to because it's so sensationalized. In this case, we're just having a conversation with a bunch of men and fathers, just talking about topics. One of our main sponsors, been a sponsor, is the Omega Psi Phi Zeta Chi chapter in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, where we kind of even started from um, doing some programming with these guys, and they continue to be here with big support. Also, another sponsor of ours is Jag, attorney at law, Miami Dade, Broward, got to say Fort Lauderdale, but West Palm Beach. If you're looking for an attorney in the South Florida area, you can check out Jag, attorney at law, attorney Johnny A. Gaspar Esquire. You can reach him at his email is j.gaspard at jag1law.com. His phone number is 305. And if you're from South Florida, 305 is the number. Uh, for a lot of people, there's other numbers, area codes, but 305 is the one that's the popular. 305, his number is 305 827 8087. And if you're looking to see what type of law he practices, go right over to his website, www.jag1law.com. And we want to thank him for his support of the show as well. And now let's get to our fathers who are here. Let them introduce themselves, and then we can get right into this conversation. Good night, gentlemen.
Good night. Good night. Um, my name is Ed Tenney. I am a transitioning to a single dad. I have three adult children, one grandbaby, and another one on the way. And that's me.
It's very good to see you, and always good to see you, brother. You know that you always are on my mind, uh, and I always look forward to hearing as to me. Not I won't say like so much of an elder, but a statesman that has much more experience and experience things that can add a sober ear and mouth to our conversation. And many times that we could get into places that we don't know or where we're going. That person who's just leveled and
I don't
bringing.
have any money. I don't have any money, Dr. Ron. I can't
No,
pay you.
no, no, it's not. It's not that. think that I'm on this new kick, and I have to be very honest. I am done with the what I feel like what social media, what even as is trickling into this thing of everything being adversarial and not really appreciating the people around you and bringing up the positives. Like, in the big sense, I say this, and I could, in the real world, people do, and they shouldn't, but they do this thing where they go in, instead of big upping a person and saying what the person really means, they go and find something too little or bring the person down or make themselves look better than that person. And I think that I am now at this point, even dealing with some of my clients and things, everything for me is I was already a strength-based, uh, uh, you know, strength-based therapist, but now I want to move. I don't want to hear any negatives. Let's talk about the positive people. Let's talk about the good things that are happening. We know all the bad things, but I don't want to hear any bad things. And I know that might at some point for some people be like, oh, you're thinking that everything is good. Yes, everything is good because we got enough people saying how everything else is bad. And if we don't bring some positivity and look at things for the facts, and we got a lot going on that's getting crazy out here. If we don't take some stance as men, as fathers, to say, not everything is messed up. Even our topic tonight, right? It might sound a little sketchy. It might sound like a negative thing, but I hope that by the time we end up having that conversation, we'll turn that around, turn that frown upside down. I'm sorry, Lightborn. I'm in the mood of grace and in the mood of inspiring and empowerment tonight. So I just wanted to let my brother know how I felt, and I can't even I don't want to go too far because I start going all around the world. I see you got that University of Miami shirt on, and big ups to the U, and they're gonna get beat this weekend. I'm gonna come all the way there so I can see the win.
Well, it's all about the hometown. It's actually the town that makes the team, not the team that makes the town. So let's get that straight. But other than that, hey, good evening, gentlemen. My name is Lionel Lightborn. I'm a father to a tribe of 7 young adults, 3 young women, 4 young men, 1 granddaughter, and a grandson. It's always a pleasure to be here. And I would echo what you said about 10E. 10E, you talking about you ain't got no money, but the Bible says blessings are the peacemakers because they'll be the peacemakers, or the equivalent is the meek, because they should be inherit the hurt. You understand? So it doesn't matter, because just by your spirit, it brings about a heavenly and a godly inheritance. So it's like you're never going to be broke as long as you have a rich spirit. So I just want to throw that in there. But it's always a pleasure to be here. I read the topic. It did look a little ratchet to me, but when I thought about it a little bit more,
and it's funny because I don't even use that. Listen, I had to put BM because I don't even use the word at all. I think that the word is derogatory, and people might not want to acknowledge that, and they'll say, "Oh, it's cute, it's fun," but I consider that kind of a derogatory word, and we use it in fun and care. But I think that the person is your child's father or your child's mother.
Correct.
If you have to direct them, or my co-parent, we can use better terminology when we're getting to that point. Well, let's talk about what that topic is. I say the topic tonight is having I said BW, but it should say a BM.
That takes on a whole new characteristic.
I know. That's what happens when you be rushing. Having a BM has helped me understand why we grew up without a father. And I know here's the and I remember sometimes somebody saying that, oh, see, you sound hypocritical. You just was talking about empowerment, love everybody, peace, and look at the kind of topic you're coming up with. But I just want to be very clear, that's not the topic's not going to go. The topic only goes the way the people in the mindset perceives it and push it. And one of those things is, if anybody watched this, and I'm gonna tell you right now, if you watch us and you see where we go, it's not going to be a stretch and fetch it type of conversation. It's not going to end at that. It's going to learn into some intellect, some mindset, and some aha moments, hopefully, for us to think about in this topic, because there is this idea that, and I only say this because I guess for years I've been watching Paternity Court with Judge, what's her name? I can't think her name.
Not Hatching, is it?
Yeah, no, it's not Hatchet.
Okay.
It's another lady named, she brown skinned sister, and a lot of times when you're watching this, the kids are not young; they're grown adults who've made a decision that they want to know who their biological parent is, and then you get to hear the stories of this whole scenario of how this happened. And I thought about this also because I see you continue to see like so much. I mean, for me, it's so much dogma type things going on in this device that we have. Like the guy finding out none of his children is his, so he killed the mother. I don't even know if I can say that, but he murdered the mother or whatever. He does something to her because of that. And you're saying, you mean to tell me there's not a story about a father who finds out that the kid's not his, and he raises the kid to be the best next neurosurgeon? Because I know a story like that. I know a story where there was no way that the father could be the father of the child, right? But the guy who it was, who told me the story about, and it was his brother. He said that we never even figured that out. I never figured that out. We never knew anything like that until years later, when I was already well in age to realize and see that, if my dad was at this place for this amount of time and he never came back, how did my brother come to be? I could do math. I could do 9 months, being away 2 years, and we ain't talking about prison away. We talking about being away in another country away. Like ain't it not like you gonna fly in for the night or anniversary night. You away. And that's a conversation that you sometimes look at. And here is a moment where, when I think about people talk about the negatives of that, here's an example of there was an understanding of why this happened and what occurred. And the father didn't make anything other of it because he, as I would like to say, maybe had grace, also understood the circumstances of what had happened, and realized that this child, see, we're not talking about the mom anymore. You a man, you a father already. You realize that this child is about to be put in a disposition, and are you going to be the person who puts them there, or are you going to put them in another disposition? Now, later on in life, we've seen stories like this all the time. People find out that this person is not their biological father, and when that comes to be, they have no bad things. All they can say is, "Hey, listen, I would never even know that. The way he took care of me, the way he did the things he did for me, the way he treated me, it's a hard blow to find out. Hey, but it's also this blow where, imagine what kind of character this man has for him to know that I'm not his child. He never let me believe or think that otherwise. And that's a powerful statement to look at a man and be able to say, this is what he did, and this is why he did it, and what reason he had to do. I think a lot of times as men, we do things with good intentions, very good intentions. I just sometimes they don't fit into the society's mainframe of how people perceive it. you know, and a lot of stuff. I said a lot of guys do stuff, and you say, well, he had a good mindset on why he was doing it, but it just didn't work out. And probably because he did it as we do so often, we take on the mentality, I can just do it on my own. You know, you need the guidance. You could call a brother like Lightborn, call a brother like Ed, say, hey, listen, this is what I'm thinking about doing. This is what the deal is. What you think, how you think I should approach it, and having that kind of mindset or that kind of guidance that as men we need. I mean, I think a lot of men feel like I don't need nobody telling me nothing. I know what I can do. I made it here. I made this play, but we still need counsel. And we see in history, all great leaders, all great people who do great things didn't do it by themselves. They had counsel, they had leaders. Most importantly, they had a woman who gave them a point of view, who could tell them the truth when the council got around to tell them something that, you know, and that may not have been the truth. She would, you know, lay it out and say, the real facts is this. And if you're going to do what you're going to do, here's what you got to think about. They scared to tell you because you they boss, you they leader, you they man. But I'm not scared to tell you because I'm your partner, and I want the best for you no matter what it is. Now, I'm talking, again, positive mindset. You know, the strength base of what it means to have that kind of woman in your back. And then also, there is this idea of, you know, looking at co-parents or children's mothers to being only in relation to it being negative because it happened outside of marriage, right? But sometimes that's the Western American way that things happen. You know, we follow that strict dynamic of marriage to make family, to establish those things. Other places, other worlds, you know, you family based on your, you know, your area, their closeness to people. You know, if it's just you and that lady right there, y'all might not get married. I might even think about marriage, but you may have children and start a whole family in that capacity, and be a good father, and be a good mother, and you know, all kinds of things. So I just sometimes want to, you know, I wish people would open up their mind to not just the narrow thinking of how things operate in this world that we live in the world that we live in, that everything can be written down on paper, but somebody can interpret it so many ways and make it interpret the way they want it to benefit them the way they think it should go. So wordsmithing, as I like to call it. So I think I
no, you got a point. I saw that story, that headline, about the father, you know, who found out that his the children were his, and he ended up killing the mother. My thought is this on that and everything else when it comes to being a father of any kind, be it biological, situational, or whatever, stepfather, whatever type of father that you're blessed to be. I think when it came to that, his understanding, or better yet, being in a similar situation Adam and Eve was in, right, in the Bible, where they allowed their empowerment, or they allowed a serpent to turn their empowerment into embarrassment, right? And so let's see it like this. Here is a guy who's a father to some children, who just obviously every child needs a father. And so the very reason that he was able to take care of the mother of those children is based on the motivation of the fact that I have children from that mother. That make any sense? Okay, so that's his motivation. And so that's the empowerment. And so for how many years up until this particular tragedy happened, that empowerment was always empowerment. When you allow narratives, remember I told you narrative can change nations, narrative can change neighborhoods, narrative can change nations. Whatever the narrative he gave his ear to shaped the nuances of his family. And it convinced him, number one, this is how you break a person down. first of all, you got to convince them. You got to turn their empowerment into embarrassment. That's number one. Number two, once you turn that empowerment into embarrassment, and then everything else will fall, right? And so what it is was, once he understood that the narrative of the children not being his, um, that the embarrassment will outweigh the empowerment by some strange reason, then he succumbed to the embarrassment, you understand, and sacrificed the empowerment that he was. What he didn't understand is, on so many levels, that empowerment will replenish itself through those children, or even better, through the deeds of him still being a father to those children. Nothing good will be bad. But if you're listening to enough unprepared narrative, which means it could be music you listen to, and a lot of times we have unresponsible, better yet, unresponsible, for the lack of a better word, artistry that we listen to, where that particular narrative will turn your empowerment into embarrassment, because we're on a certain wavelength of ignorance at that particular time. And so whatever we're listening to that may need time to mature and may need time to grow, you understand? You may be too mature to the music you listen to.
Right.
And this man was probably far mature than the music that he listened to.
Right.
But what happened is, again, his maturity was the empowerment. But then he starts to think, not what do he think about what he's done, because obviously it is good. And had he judged himself by the right measuring stick, we would have had a better outcome. But when you start to think, not what I think, but what the people I listen to think, or in some cases, what would the people I look up to think, then you start to succumb to a very irresponsible narrative that will produce an irresponsible outcome. I.e., if you listen to people who don't value other people, then when it comes to your option to value a person or devalue a person, you're likely to devalue that person if what you're listening to devalues people, i.e., you're going to kill somebody. But if you listen to a narrative that actually values people, then you have another option to say, you know what? He didn't even seem like he considered the other option, because again, he had more going for him than against him. He was worrying about what people might say about him versus who he actually was. So he didn't even give his actuality a chance, and he succumbed to what might have happened, as opposed to really live it, and still could have been free, and she could have been living into what actually was happening, and give a chance to actually reap. You understand? Give that good a chance to reap before you sow the bad that you're thinking about sowing. And I'm not going to say that like I'm perfect or whatever. I just had another narrative to refer to that stopped me from probably doing what he would have done. And so it's good to always have the options, that positive and that negative narrative going. But then sometimes if you bombard yourself with too much negative narrative and don't seek a positive narrative, like going to church, like talking to people that you need to talk to. You know what I'm saying? Not that you want to talk to. By talking to people you need to talk to, then that's where you shape that other narrative as you shape. Because you can shape both narratives at the same time. You can shape a positive narrative and a negative narrative at the same time. But it's good to have that positive narrative just as strong as that negative narrative when it comes down to making situations or facing situations like this young man once faced. And so that's my thought about the process. But I get into the topic, to the original topic on the baby mothers versus being raised by a baby mother. That's another topic. Matter of fact, that's the topic that we're talking about, but I'll talk more about that on my turn.
Well, I mean, I think sometimes you don't even know that you wouldn't even know that you're being raised from, as we would say, a baby mama. You don't even know that. And this is where this whole topic comes from. The idea that what you don't know until another point in time. Just like I heard somebody say recently, and it was interesting in saying, this is an interesting dynamic. The guy said, one of our, a black guy who obviously, I guess he was quoting that he was a part of he was a gay man, and the quote was saying that when boys are around only the women, this is why they end up being gay, right? And then he then, gave a response to that and said, I grew up with my dad, right? Who was fishing, doing all the stuff. My dad had me doing everything. And I can tell you right now, that didn't stop me one bit from liking men. And so it was this counter thing. So we it's so many narratives that become something that can become adversarial when people begin to talk about a topic like this, right? But it's not this is not a topic that at the moment it is happening, people are thinking about it unless they've been exposed, like watching the Fatherhood Think Tank. You watching the Fatherhood Think Tank and realize, yo, I never thought about that until this moment, until this time, that maybe the reason why I don't know how, and I found this is something I found out in my work, the reason why I can't really compromise. I don't know how to compromise. I don't know how to balance in relationship with a man or a woman. It's not just for women, for the man or woman that I'm in a relationship with, or whoever I'm in a relationship with, is because I had no exposure to how it operated. I didn't see the ability of two people being in relationships compromising and sacrificing maybe what they wanted for the better benefit of their relationship or even for their family. I didn't see that. I seen people do what they want to do, and sometimes it's supposed to, they had to do what they wanted to do. Like this is a thing where I had to, like this, and I'm not going to use I'm going to use another analogy, like the person who say I had to go and sell drugs because I had to have a food to eat and this and that. And I say, well, not really, because there's two boys who live in the same projects and they do two different things to get money. The one boy go cut yards, he go sell water, he finds a way to do everything, and you went with the drug man and sold drugs with him. There was another way, and guess what? Those two guys was friends. One said, "I'm not going to do that." The other one said, "Look, man, I got to do it. I got to survive. I ain't about to be out here in this hot sun selling water, not even realizing that you out there all night in the freezing cold, saying woo 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 woo, doing whatever, running up and down the street, 12 coming or whatever things that happen. That's a choice that we decide to make. So that is like being transparent, being honest with yourself about what is happening, how we're doing some of the things. And that is a big thing that you don't really see it until you can have a clear picture. A lot of times we look into this little small tube of what we think things is. It's not until the tube busts open and we see the whole picture and be like, wow, this is amazing that this might have been the reason why I'm in this relationship the way I am. And I'm again, somebody can say, well, you're just talking, you're just saying stuff. But I mean, the research says it very clearly in the reverse. Not for this, but when we talk about domestic violence, something I know a lot about, right? I know a lot about domestic violence. I spent half of my life studying, presenting, talking about prevention of domestic violence, education prevention work in that arena of violence, that it really develops from a place of what the person learns as a learned behavior as a child. And a lot of times, if it comes across that this is how our relationship operate, right? The relationship operate where you see on Sunday, you go to church, whole family go. Well, daddy don't go to church, but y'all get up and go to church. Then you come home, mom cook dinner, you eat. Monday, dad go to work. You don't see him. Tuesday, you don't see him because you go to bed as a child. Wednesday, you don't see him. Friday night come, you don't see him, but you hear him and mom fight all night, fighting and fussing and carrying on, because you don't have to really get up the next day because it's Saturday. And you assume that dad will be there in the morning when you come in, A lot of times he sleep and mom got stuff for you to go do chore. You go out, and then it starts all back over. When everything is good by Friday, Saturday night. Saturday night they made up, everything happy, and it's time to go to church. Church on Sunday. But dad ain't gonna go to church because he tired from the night before. Mom get up, cook breakfast again. So this cycle is seeing it and say, oh, this is how relationships should go. So when you go get in your relationship, you gone. You're not giving the quality time to your partner. Your partner say something to you, you get violent with them. Oh, what do you do? What you find out later on is that dad, when they come home, usually because after work he went and got a couple drinks. But now, why did dad go and get those couple of drinks? Which sometimes we don't know why. But not because he was just an alcoholic. He became an alcoholic because the pressures he had facing this world that he lived in as a man who had to support a family. But the world wasn't treating him like a man. Now, I'm giving this scenario. This is not everybody's story. I don't want people start saying that ain't how it worked. But there's a large history that shows us that the violence that occurred in our Black communities among our families, and why did the mother stay, and why did the mother stay and receive that? It has so much to really do with the time and place and history that was happening to us as a family. And it's sad that our fathers weren't able, those grandfathers weren't able to get some place to get somebody to support them, that they wouldn't take it out on their families. But there was no one,
Ron, I hear that narrative, which really sickened me, because sometimes I think the more educated we get, the more stupid we get. And sometimes I really believe that. Not you, Ron, but I'm just talking in general. Because I heard the same argument, why they stay and all this and that. As if, you understand, you could exist and survive the times that they survived. They went through whatever they went through, made whatever sacrifices they went through to get us to this level of comfort. And then we want to take our consciousness and turn it on them, as opposed to do what the Bible say do. Above all things, get understanding. Now, I can get understanding because none of them narratives said she stayed because she loved it. You understand? That's what really pissed me off. I'm like, why she couldn't just stay there because she loved it? Or why can't we learn from what love really is? Love is not being with a person and everything go right.
This is exactly, we listen straight. We on the same. I mean, we're on the same place, because that's my whole argument, is that you're saying that she stayed because of all these miscellaneous things. Mm-hmm. No, she stayed because she loved her man. And guess what? She knew he loved her.
Right.
But he didn't know how to handle what had occurred and how he didn't have the tool. Listen, today we got all kinds of tools that our great fathers didn't have. The tool they had was, they knew the strap is what was coming to them. They didn't do what they needed to do, and in some points, our people were scared to do certain things because they didn't want to lose a family member. They didn't. Listen, she definitely would rather him come home, and listen. And I know it's gonna get some backlash, right? It's gonna be some backlash. I know, but she would rather him come home and take it out on her than to do something in the street and end up dead and not have him. That's the kind of love. And people would say, you sound, I know I can sound all kinds of ways, but you have to understand that you're talking about now, but not talking about then. There's two different times that we're talking about. And when people are talking about now, it's everybody got the power to do whatever they want, how they want to do this and that. They don't have the same kind of love and support that the family had then.
But they don't have, I don't call that power, because let me say it like this. I said, let me turn that mirror around for a minute. I'm like, how come I'm like, if what you're saying is true, and we're going to give credit to what you're saying, I'm like, how come your grandmama knew nothing and had somebody, and you know everything and got nobody?
Yeah.
You understand that we're going to have this real conversation. So I'm like, well, what you know not benefiting you. Oh, because I wouldn't tolerate anything. I'm like, no, maybe it's the tolerance that got you having or the lack of tolerance that have you having nobody. You understand? Because you don't know what it takes to really have somebody. And so I think when it comes to studying the love that our ancestors was and what they had to get us to where we're at, I think we need a whole lot more studying than to just go on our own little tangent and think that black people just seem like an easy win when it comes to talking about them. Well, you know they can't do around me. I can tell you that straight up.
Right.
I won't give a damn.
Right. And I agree 100% with you on that. We have to take a step. Listen, 2025 is the turnaround time. You cannot tell me anything about black people anymore. Talk about other people. Don't tell me nothing about black people.
Correct.
Because I seen a clip the other day where they was saying, oh, the negative of black fathers and this and that. And then the clip then showed the statistics of who is more engaged. And then when I argued the case, listen, this is how I feel like we so stuck on bringing ourselves down. When I argued the case that these dads are more likely to change their children's diapers, to bathe their children, to really spend time. You know what the person said in response to that? Oh, because they ain't got no job. They got time to be at home to do it. I said, I said, this is what, no, it's not. It's not. You gotta think deeper.
No, they're contradicting themselves, Ron, because when a mother do it, you say it is a job. You understand? When a mother do it, you say it is a job. All of a sudden, the daddy doing it is not a job.
It's not a job. No.
You know what I'm saying?
He need to go out and get some money.
And you're never going to talk to me. You're going to lose all your privileges in talking to me ever. You understand? Because everybody can't talk to me. You got to earn your right to talk to me. You lose that right. You know how people say they lose their black card? You can lose your Lionel card. Not talking about it. Once I established you as stupid, that's it.
It's funny because that's the kind of adversarial conversation people want, because it almost seems like, hey, no matter what you say, I'm gonna find a bad. But what was the good? There got to be something good. Is it any good? Okay, so because it proved that he the most stay at home, he do the most. Oh well, that's only because that's a bad because he ain't got no job. No, that's not true. What you forget and fail to realize is it has been conditioned to us to take care, not for somebody else to take care. So black men and women know equally how to take care because we have been conditioned in a servitude attitude. So guess what? If we could take care of little Johnny, not just women, but a man, Mr. Talk, take care of little Johnny and little Paul, take them around, do all these things with them, and then Miss Mama took Sally Lou and Becky all around and did the things with them. What you think they doing with their own children? I ain't got time for my own children. No, they gonna give their children because it's a gift also that I give so much to everybody else. I gotta give something to my own children. Or they gonna feel like they ain't got nothing. So these are the kind of thing, and it's so often people would like say, oh, you like to always try to bring race into it. And I say, listen, I can't ever bring race into it. This country is a race country. It's not. What the problem is, y'all would rather have a race country than a class country. That's what the problem is. Because class would mean that it don't matter what you look like, right? It don't matter what you look like. In other countries, in India, right, you can be as black as the blackest blueberry, and you can be the highest class, and you can be light as the lightest light skin, close to white, and be in the lowest class. It don't matter. It's about your class. But here we focus everything on how much shade you got if you ain't go out there and lay in the sun and get it. How much melanin. Fake melanin people can go out there and they like that tone because it's beautiful, it's nice to look at, but it's something to really think about. Let me welcome on the fathers that came on just now. Come on here, fathers. Introduce yourself. And y'all can get in this conversation too, because I know y'all got some thoughts about the topic here tonight is having a BM, that's the word for baby mother that I don't care too much for, has helped me understand why we grew up without a father. And I'm going to tell you something. I'm looking in the audience out here on Facebook, and I know some people who would say to me just around the audience that, oh, this also could be the same thing, a reason why I grew up without a mother. They can say the same thing. We using it because it's the kind of conversation we having as fathers. We don't really know the experience that mothers have with fathers. They, not the real one. I think we have a manufactured one that people, but no one is sitting down having a real conversation about their experience with fathers. Because most of it usually turns into just to like a negative place because no one is really, to me, really to be honest. Not not have an honest conversation because fine, if you have an honest conversation, you feel vulnerable that then people will then bring out that see what I got you moment. Everybody's looking for a got you moment. But when we're having conversations, not about a got you moment, it's about an understanding moment. So we can all understand. Because once we understand, we can live better together. Okay, Dad, King. Is that Robert Jean Menard there? And
Hey, what's going on, fellas?
Hey,
good
what's
night.
going on, guys?
Hey, doing good, doing good. Let me just introduce myself real quick. J. Rock Bernard, father of two adults. They're no longer young adults; they're fully grown kids. So they're doing their thing.
All right, good night. Welcome tonight, Gene. I'm
Yeah,
hoping to hear what you got to say. Vince, what you
hey,
got for
how's
us,
it going?
brother?
How's it going, man? These events, man. Man, yeah, man, I can definitely relate to this situation. So, yeah, man, I'm just hearing in, man. I'm just trying to soak up the knowledge with my OGs, man. I appreciate y'all letting me join in tonight.
No, we ain't letting you, brother. This ain't this this listen, this is where everybody need to be. And even if you ain't doing it here, I think I advise people to get them a group of people and have conversations and listen. I know they because really this whole conversation thing we're gonna be having could be about sports, right?
Don't
We
be
could be
scared.
sitting here and because that's what it is. We can sit here and say we having the sport talk, and so we sit here and run off statistics and who this and that and what they did and blase. And I think about the one of the interesting cases of that is we could do that and have that conversation, but who is benefited? What's going to change because of it? Who might be able to do something different other than keep on reinforcing these young people to think, oh, see, they talking about the sports figures. It's glamorous to be a sports figure. So that's what when you ask them, hey, what you want to do when you grow up? I have a class and every one of my kids think they're going to be a professional sports player, a professional soccer player, a professional WNBA player, a professional football player, and an NBA basketball player. So I got the whole thing in this class with my students I have, and I say, but what you gonna do after you do that? My question is, what you gonna do after? Because if the thing don't work out, what you gonna do? You gotta do something else. You gotta have some means. And so I love the idea that you're gonna play sports because you can play sports no matter what happens. Because there's people right now who in leagues and they play every day. They're not professionals. They got the adult leagues, softball leagues, football leagues, bowling leagues, soccer league. I used to play in one of them soccer leagues up in Coral Springs. I'm probably the only little black dude out there with all the Hispanic dudes. But I used to play in the soccer league. We used to get out every Sunday and play all the time. You can always play sports. But what my career at that time was a domestic violence educational prevention person. So I worked all week, and on Sunday mornings, I played soccer. So at that time, I had the net best cleats. I was looking like one of the best players, but I had a career also. So when I hurt my knee, it wasn't over for me, but I could just hobble into work, hobble into my job, and say, "Oh, today we're gonna be doing this." So I throw that in there just to say that this kind of conversation is important, and is not to say these other conversations not, because I don't listen and not judge or whatever the kind of thing people be on. I just feel like I wish people would gravitate more to what we got going on because I feel so empowered and powerful when we have it. and I feel that I want other people to feel what I'm feeling. I think that, but again, they gotta want. They might not be interested in feeling. I know I feel every when I get off these calls, or get off of this, I feel so energized because I was able to hear other men who have really thought about things, and even if I agreed or didn't agree, what that does help me go into other relationships, right, and deal with people who definitely I want to have relations with. My woman, to hear her, to disagree, to agree, parents or any people, to be able to have that, because I can have it here with you guys. Not think that everything I say and do is the right thing and it got to be my way or the highway or anything like that. I think that that's some of the part of it. And I think I remember an old brother, I don't know who used to be saying the iron sharpening iron. They used to be probably Brother Larry Jordan. Used to always talk about iron sharpening iron. And, this will give us this opportunity to sharpen each other up for what we have to do later. Gene, I don't know if you had something to say. I know you just wanted to introduce yourself. Yes, but
Yeah, so I know you guys, the way the Fatherhood Think Tank works. I know you probably gravitated away from the topic, but and which I heard a lot of the stuff that's said. But when I saw the topic, right, the first thing that came to my mind was, yeah, you know what? You don't understand what's happening, why you have a baby mom, why you were raised by a baby mama, because everything, like you guys say, sometimes things just drift negatively, right? But in this aspect, I said, let me sit down and actually think about it, because sometimes fatherhood is a choice, and I think that we always talk about how fatherhood is privilege, right? And when you have these kids grow up with just the baby's mother, it was a choice by the father for that to happen. Because I know me, and I know everyone on this call right now. If it was the choice to be a father, but have a hard fight to get your children, or to not be present and just have peace of mind, all of us would choose to fight, right? And so I think that when I look at the topic, that's the angle I looked at it at. I was like, man, you found out that your father made a choice not to be present, because no matter what it is that you're doing in life, as far as a man goes, and you have you may not be married, or you may be married, the woman has a kid. No matter what you're doing in life, your first priority becomes that child, in my opinion. It's just my opinion now. Your first priority becomes a child, being present for the child, right? I understand there's a lot of things in life that we have to do because, like a lot of people are saying, you have to work, you have to be able to maintain, you have to be able to support. But prioritization is, I'm doing this for the child that I brought into this world. So that's how I looked at it. And I don't know if you guys touched on that aspect of it, but that was one of the ways I looked at it, was like, man, fatherhood is a choice. And this guy realized that his father made the choice, because whether or not he has a baby mom, that now he has a baby mother, I should say, and not being raised by one, he's making a choice himself, either to be present or not to be present. So that's kind of what I looked at with the topic, and how I was looking at it when it all came down to it. I want to make one more comment before anyone else comments on what I said, or puts another comment out there. I was listening to that domestic violence thing, and you know what? The things that they say now are the same things they said back then. The arguments have never changed when it comes to women that are domestic violence. Like, she could just leave, she could just walk away. This is what she is. And I think when you both of you guys raised a good point about the love that a person has, who's the victim, right? That a lot of people just don't understand. It's not about walking away from someone's being you. It's not like you're in a street, in a school fight it's a relationship that you're in, and a lot of us would just say walk away because we're not in that situation. And a lot of people love to speak on a situation that they've never been in, as if when they're in the situation it go any different. You don't know what you'll do in that time, in that situation, when stuff is going down and how it's going down, right? You don't know the emotion that you'll have within that relationship. Heck, you have some women, they may not be in DV, but they're getting cheated on left and right, and you're like, yo, why are you letting this guy cheat on you? Or why you letting this other person cheat on you? Because I love him and you just don't understand. It's the same situation. A mental abuse and physical abuse are still two types of abuses that people suffer through because of love. And until we can put ourselves in a position to truly understand that, right? They say before someone can walk away from a domestic violence situation, and a lot of times women don't walk away unless the kid is now threatened, which is ironic, but they don't walk away unless the kid is threatened, and then it takes time before they even walk away. It'll take 3 to 5 times before they leave, and then not even to say that they won't go back. You see what I'm saying? So
Right.
I don't know. That's just my thought on it.
That's
that's
that's the hypocrisy of us as human beings. I love us because I like to press people, right? I love when women when they think they got the victimization or being a victim on lock until you challenge them, right? Yeah, you don't let nobody beat you. He beat you. You should leave, walk away, blah blah blah. I said, let me ask you a question. I'm just gonna ask you a really basic, simple, very logical question. How many times you walk? How many times your parents had to beat you before you walked away? See how we give a license to women beating the hell out of children, because abuse is still abuse. Don't tell me the reason why. You understand? I don't care how you swing it. Abuse is abuse. Don't confuse discipline with abuse. That's where we get everything kind of messed up at. And so we believe it's okay for a woman to be the child, but it's not okay for a man to be the woman. When actually I'm like, well, if that child can find forgiveness to find his way back to you after you done beat them countless times, then what's the difference than your ancestors finding their way back to their husband when they beat them countless times? You got to understand your love for your child ain't no different from a man love for his wife or a wife love for her husband. Let me be clear. If you really want some real science and education on the thing, you understand? Because I don't want you to walk away thinking your beating is different from somebody else beating. See, we like to talk crap. You understand? Because we're very selective in our sins. We're very selective in our trauma. We're very selective in our crises. And you know what? The crises I inflict on my children is different from the crises that my husband inflicts on me. When the truth of the matter, no, the hell it's not. You have no more reason to be putting your hand on your children than a man having to putting his hand on you. And until we get to that understanding, and until we get to that real justice or the real love of that, then we're not going to understand it all. So don't tell me it's different. It's never different. Because I'm going to tell you something. Love is everything but violence. And if you can still see the love and the violence you inflict on your children, you should still see the love of violence when men and women are inflicted on each other. That's how I feel about that, but I'm going to leave that where it's at. That's just a caveat. I can play with that all day. What I will say when it comes back to the baby mama thing, I have 4 baby mamas and guess what? You're going to love this part. I have 4 baby mamas. And and I always wanted to be married. I ain't never wanted baby mamas. That's the strangest part. I have 4 baby mamas, but never wanted a baby mama. And so any one of those 4 of my kids' mothers, I could have married at any given time. And again, not only just any given time, but that was my intentions, right? Was it the circumstances? No. And I'm going to be honest with you. Your circumstances may not match your intentions. This is how baby mamas and baby daddies come about. Because by the simple fact that I was raised by a baby mama, then loving my mom the way I do gave me a certain science on how I would want to treat women by choice. right? Just by choice, how I would want to treat women. But sometimes the conditioning, notice I said the social conditioning can outweigh the consciousness of your intentions. And so the social conditioning was so strong that I knew more baby daddies than I knew husbands. So here it is, something I wanted to be,
Right.
I knew less of. You understand? I wanted to be a husband, but I didn't know any husbands. You understand? And so I succumbed and became what I knew. I knew a lot of baby daddies, but I didn't know a lot of husbands. But it didn't take away from the fact that I still wanted to be a husband. And even though I felt that being a husband and became a baby daddy 4 times, not just because of what I seen my mama, not just so much went through, because sometimes you got to pay attention to your parents' wants. I love my mama enough to pay attention to her. And I would tell that to any kid right now, I'm like, man, if you love your parent, pay attention to them. You should be able to see their pros and their cons. And I saw what she wanted. I saw what she sacrificed. I saw when she felt valuable and when she didn't feel valuable. And so because of that, what I couldn't give to my baby mamas, and I didn't want to make them baby mamas, but you know what I did? I said, you know what I'm going to do? What I'm going to do, you know what? We never became husband and wife, but when it comes to our children, I'm going to still treat you like a wife. And so I gave them wife privileges and baby mama circumstances. People are like, what do you mean? That means that whatever she said was law. I'm going to listen to my children, but I know that their mothers going to love them better than them until they learn how to love themselves. I already knew that hands down. So I'm like, hey, the authority when it comes to your voice as a child is your mother. So I'm like, whatever, I'm going to come to your mother. I always go to the mother for the real story. Yeah, I hear what you're saying, but I need to go to the authority, you understand, of who love you until you literally learn how to love yourself. And so our kids, when they're in a relationship with like, and they're confusing like with love, I already knew what a love was. So I always negotiated with the love as opposed to the love that my baby mamas were or are, as opposed to the like our children is. They only mastered like, but they had not been on this earth long enough, had not sacrificed long enough to understand what love truly was. That's where they got vetoed at. You understand? They got vetoed every time. Because I'm like, don't get it twisted. Just because me and your mom are not together doesn't mean we're not together when it comes to raising you. And once you make that clear, they already understood, like, oh, okay. Now they start to understand the work that they mom. I say, because if you don't value your mom, you're going to value her now. Because what I did, my conversation I had to push that value, give more value to their mother. I said, because she's with you majority of the time. Why would I value you more than her when she value you more than you value yourself? You understand? And so I start to treat I give my baby mother's wife privileges. So I had to equip myself with a lot of tolerance, a lot of forgiveness, a lot of what do you call it? Emotional whatever, a lot of sensitivity that I don't think I really had as a man, but I learned it because I wanted to give them something. Anytime you want to give somebody something, you will work for that thing you want to give. And that's what I was able to do with 4 baby mamas. And I was able to raise 4 separate children, separate mothers, and almost like they was all one. Only because I made in my mind that I want to give to them what I always wanted to give to them. And I think I was able to do that because all of them became husbands, wives of somebody else. And the husbands came in with the same kind of respect me. That means your narrative must be respect me to him. And I think a lot of times husbands also see, because we're men, so we look for what a person do and what they don't do. And so when they saw like, oh, okay, you already got a standard here for your child, you understand? Then okay, all I got to do is add to that standard. I don't have to be that standard. Notice I said I can add to that standard, but I don't have to be that standard because that standard was already there when I met you. And so that's how we formed the village. And so we talk about a lot about villages and stuff like that, but I don't think we understand or really want to know the science it takes to really and truly be a village. Because we think our village, the village our parents had, they got it by osmosis. I'm like, no, they got it by a lot of sacrifice, a lot of tolerance, but most importantly, a lot of love that we're not willing to give because we think we're too smart to give it.
We ain't our ancestors. That
Absolutely.
old saying, we not our ancestors. And I think that where the problem comes is because strangely, we not our ancestors when it comes to us, but we still our ancestors when it comes to other people. And that's what that's what I continue to see. The whole I ain't my ancestors and I ain't. But when it comes to what your ancestors was doing with these other people, you kowtowing, it's like a reversal. You kowtowing more than what your ancestors did. But when you like, I see this toughness, and I love the part that you said there about most people are conditioned to want to be married, right? The problem is that we can be conditioned, but where is to learn how to drive a car, but only conditioned to do it on a bicycle, right? It's crazy work. It's to say, yeah, you want to drive a car, but you're gonna learn all of it by doing it on a bicycle. It's not nowhere the same. You have the mindset, you have the commitment to it, but it's a completely different thing. People give you the right of way. They looking at when you're driving in a car, it's easy. It's not like people listen. You get in their way, they'll crash into you. You ride a bicycle, they'll try to move out the way. They'll stop. They'll do certain things because it's a different way. And so that's an analogy. I love to throw analogies out there that they make some that people might not understand, but you can understand that we don't have that kind of system so much that what we want, we have the owner's book or the manual on how to do it. And so sometimes we're doing it the best we can. And guess what? Not just us, but also the other people we want to do it with. They ain't got no book either. So they taking whatever advice, whatever. They not even learn how to drive a car with a bicycle. They learn how to drive a car with a skateboard. So there's way different dynamics of getting on a skateboard and the balancing and how to stop. Because sometimes on a skateboard you can't stop like you're getting on a bicycle. Just push the brakes and you gotta, you gotta keep your balance. You can't, rocks in the road can make you fall. These are the kind of things that we're not ever thinking about, but we want them. We that's what we like to do. I've rarely met like this whole new phenomenon. Men don't got no benefit of getting married. They don't want to, but they still get married because it's something they really want to do. You cannot tell me that you may not want to. You may hate being married, but I tell you very much that there's a lot of men who you don't think want to be married. They still want to be married, and they wanted to stay married, and they want to be married right now, but they're not because you can't make somebody stay married to you. You can't do so. You can only do so much, right? So it's not like I'm saying, well, hey, I want to be married and now I'm not married. Well, I'm not married and I'm not going to get married because you can go out and marry somebody, but if you're thinking about it, you want to marry the right person. You don't want to marry the wrong person, but you also don't want to marry a person when you're not ready to give them what you need to give them and know that they're able to give you what you need to give, they need to give you. And that's the negotiation, I think, that happens sometimes that kind of goes by the wayside because they start thinking about the honeymoon, what kind of dress they want.
But no, Ron, I'm going to tell you, and I'm wearing my university, I'm from Miami, but I'm wearing my University of Miami shirt. There it is again. Watch that there. There it is. Anyway. and Teeny, I definitely need to hear from you, fam. But I'm saying that to say this. The reason I bought the University of Miami jersey and shirt and my celebratory comments towards them, not only because they won, but what I realize is men, and this is the condition. Remember I told you the conditioning versus the circumstances. And we can go our whole life mastering what it is to be fans. You know what I'm saying? And putting all kind of equity and hopes and everything it takes to build a family into being fans. The Dolphins they've been losing every year for the last 30 plus, maybe going on 50 years now, right?
Right.
But we'll show up with the hope of them becoming champions and show up every year being a better fan than we do showing up being better men in our families. And so don't tell me we can't do it. I know we can do it because the evidence is there.
It's
you
there.
understand? Like
Excellent.
into our families, what we put, I'm talking about effort wise. If we put effort into our families like we put into our fanfare, no telling how the trajectory of not just our culture, but this world will change. But we don't see our families and the effort of our families like we see the effort of our fanfare because we don't get the same gratification out of our families until our sons or daughters go pro.
Well, you know, we also, in the other part, we don't have the same accountability responsibilities. You know, when we go see the game, we go see the game. They don't say, well, we need you to do this to go, because when it is like that, right? When it is where you have to have the accountability responsibility, you have to really support the game. We don't, it's the same thing with the relationship and the family.
Well, no, I think what happened is, remember, and I did some couple of shows ago, and I'm like, I think sometimes we don't value our team. And so I'm like, your family is your team. You own that team. But you would give more to a team you don't own. To build a team you don't own, you don't get absolutely nothing from other than bragging rights that's not even yours. You understand? To build a team that is yours, which is your family. And so I think, and I'm gonna be honest with you, you'd be surprised if you took the same concept that we give to our sports teams and put it in your families, if you bought the jerseys and identified and came up with a logo for your families. And literally put the type of work into your family that you would into your team and make your family the team that you want your team to be. Again, no telling what the trajectory will be like. But again, we don't see, I'm gonna be honest, we don't value our families like we value our teams. We could, and I think we should because we have the capacity and the capability to do so. But I think sometimes if we don't value ourselves, then it's gonna be impossible to value the team that you're on, which is your family.
I hear what you're saying, like born, but I also understand what Ron is saying, and I kind of, when you said that, I kind of go on the side of Ron, right? Because, and I'm gonna say this, why my thinking tilts more that direction. You're asking one for effort and how do you call that? Effort and selflessness, while the other you're just asking me to just show up. I don't got to put anything else. All I got to do, the most I got to do when I'm cheering on a team is yell. Buy a ticket, yell, and it's a how do you say that? It's a distraction from real life, right? So now you're telling me to try to make my life, my real life, like my fanfare. Well, I can't because it's two different worlds. One that actually demands from me and one that just wants me to be who I am, right? Now, the problem is, and where I lean towards you on this is, the problem is that we don't prioritize family to be that team that we need them to be, so that we just have to show up. And once we learn to lead our family in a way where we just end up having to show up because we put the mechanisms in place for it to be a full success, then we'll always keep those two things separate in our life. Make sense?
No, it makes sense, but the problem I have with that is this. If our ancestors had that mindset, you understand, then their fanfare of the white man's freedom, you understand? If there was two separate, what if the fanfare of the white man's freedom versus the fanfare of the black man's freedom was two separate things? Where would we be? You understand? And so until we start to see things like we need to see it and like we ought to see it, you understand? We're going to make it separate because we have the privilege and the option to make it separate. When the truth of the matter is they should never be separate, because there's no way I should be a greater fan of somebody else's stuff than I am of my own. And so I see it like that. I see it as I'm like, oh, wait a minute. I'm not going to be a greater fan of the white man freedom than I am of, and I'm just talking from my ancestor standpoint. I'm not going to be a greater fan of the white man freedom and just deny myself and deny my family from having their freedom as well. If freedom is possible, right, for any man, then it should be possible for every man. That's real fanfare. And I think we should see the same thing when it comes to where we at right now. The problem is we got the privilege to separate or segregate it. That's the danger of privileges, because it makes you rationalize our wrongs, right? But if you was under the pressure that you need to be to really say like, no, these are not separate. If this person can make me a fan of who they are, why can't I strengthen myself enough and value myself enough to make them a fan of who I am? That's how I see it. So I see it like the whole picture, not just like apples and oranges. I'm like, no, it's not apples and oranges. This is apples and apples. You understand? It's just we got more privilege to really separate the two than our ancestors did to know that the two are not separate at all.
Well, it's funny you say that, Lightborn, because I think about the closest time we've been in that place was during COVID, right? And you've seen it. You've seen it all happen at George Floyd. You've seen people concerned. Listen, to this day, I am in awe of Eric Gardner dying the exact same way George Floyd died within a year or two time, right? And no one cared that Eric Gardner died, but the world cared that George Floyd died, right? And I said to myself, it's because we were under that type of pressure. It was no more distraction. There was no, listen, one of the opportunities that we lost was the idea of, and this is not against Black Lives Matter or anything in that case, that we didn't have a movement at the time that was about more than just money making, right? So if we had a movement at that time, we could have went and could have brought these values back to our families in a way using that, right? Because people were on board. People who didn't never care was on board. But then it became something else. It became like, I can't even describe what it became, because it became, to me, what I call it, patronism. Like the same patronism that the other people give us. Our own people were starting to patronize us with oh, this is what we need. When the reality is, people have been doing this work already. They've been doing the work since the beginning of time in this country, and now you are the greatest of the doing this. How? When did that? Oh, because Target gonna give you $60 million and put it into your organization. That's why you're the greatest of the time. When our real civil rights leaders, and I won't say, let me say, when our past civil rights leaders was doing the work, they were poor, impoverished. They was working for the cause, not for the check. These people was on the verge of being homeless. But it didn't matter, because the community, see, this is where the problem comes. The community would still support them because the cause was something that everybody could ride. It didn't matter what way you was. You could have been a Black nationalist, you could have been a Muslim, you could have been this, you could have been that. When it came down to what was happening to us as a people, those people said, oh, give the money. Let's put the money to it. Even though we don't get down with them over there, but they put the money to it, they go toward the cause, because we were all facing the same thing. And so that's a big part of where we are. And I have to agree 100% with you, is that we don't have the pressure that we need to push us to do certain things. But again, as I see things coming down the pipe, people better be getting ready to look for ways to unite, because the pressure is coming. And I'm not saying that pressure coming with your homeboy, with Mr. President. The pressure's gonna come with some other people who are going to take the precedences of the things that happen now during this administration and do things that we could never imagine. And they already have, it's like you know how you have a video game, and I'm gonna say this to the video game heads. If you have a video game, you got to start from scratch to get to certain levels. But you go, somebody else went there and got you all the extra. I'm not even a video game person. I just noticed from the kids that told me. And somebody give you everything you need, the cheat codes and everything. And you just go in there, you could die and get multiple relives and all the special things. You can get all that. You didn't do anything to get it because somebody else put all of it in play. And now you could go in there and be diabolical when you play the game. You could do diabolical things. That's just something that I'm constantly thinking about, is that there's a lot of stuff happening that you're worried about who's doing what they're doing now, but you're not thinking about what the other person can do later. And it's
no, hey, Teeny, please get in there.
I'm not even sure if I'm able to relate because, my perspective is, from a stepdad's perspective. I don't necessarily have a baby mama. I will tell you what I've learned, though. I think when you come in as a stepdad, it is easier for that child's mother to disassociate because that child is not your seed, and so from my experience as a stepdad, my framework, I came in, with a certain level of expectation as a husband, as a father, and the stepdad, was just, it was all inclusive. So from her perspective, it was easier, I think, for her to maybe devalue what all I brought to the table as a stepdad, because I was not the biological person involved with that child. From the other side, I guess from my side, it was actually as hard and as gut-wrenching as it was for me to part company, if you will. I must admit, it probably would have been a lot more difficult if that child was my biological seed. So I guess I learned two things as a stepdad. Your value is as a father is totally up to that mother, and how you want to be valued as a stepdad is totally up to you. So I guess my experience or situation is a little bit different in that when I came initially into the relationship, I came with just a certain perspective. I'm not going to say that, that I'm such a great guy, I'm that type of scenario, but I know I wasn't a bad guy. Mm-hmm. But to be devalued so quickly and so effortlessly, it taught me a lesson that, the biological mother just has a whole lot of power to either incorporate or disenfranchise. Mm-hmm. And so my situation is a little bit different. I'm not exactly sure how that would actually link up to the baby mama conversation, but
Well,
that's my
well,
experience.
as you said, and then our time's almost up, but I want to, Tenny, you said something as you were talking. I thought about how, as a stepfather, and I think about, we don't think about it very often because it depends on what kind of mother you have, or mother that's involved, who was a baby mother to somebody else. How, when you said this word about, like, devaluing and, your role, sometimes you as a stepfather can be used to devalue the original father, right? The biological father. And a lot of people don't, and in many instances, it doesn't show up sometimes like you think it. I mean, you could come as the father, right? As the stepfather, positively, and your goal is to be positive and make positive things happen and do things. But sometimes you can find that the other parent could be using that again as a tool, like the tool that really we don't need. Look, your children don't need you. They got a new dad, and this new dad is doing things just equivalent. And if they can't do it's no longer, it's the idea of, I'm not saying women or moms need to make the men do something, but you need to hold them accountable to do it. When I see a mother that is willing to say, forget about it, right? When you say you forget about it, that means that person has no value. And when I'm saying this, not like you chasing behind somebody, just saying that these kids need you to do this. Yes, so and so is there living in the house with them every day, but he is their father figure, but he's not their father. They need their father to be there as well. They can't have enough. But when it works in a way where that's being undermined and the stepfather doesn't even know it, right? Stepfather's trying to be cordial, whatever, and you don't even know, because sometimes those fathers are, those fathers in this is like, listen, man, it's one less headache. That's his headache.
You know
But
what's
Ron,
crazy?
also,
I
But that's
played both
wait a
roles.
minute, Ron,
I'm finna let y'all know I played both roles, and it's crazy that he said that, because when I first was in a relationship with my BMs, like I was basically sitting on a role as a stepfather first, and then when I had my two kids, I became a father. So not only am I my father, I'm a stepfather. I became a father. So I had to play both roles, and and I can see the difference, and I have to differentiate the two when it comes to having certain say so's and having no say so, and just letting it be and not getting in my feelings, just making sure I be put in my own position where I got to check my own ego, and knowing that, okay, this is my place and this is where I have to be when it comes to taking care of my child, and this is where I have to be when it comes to taking care of my stepchild. It took a while for me to learn that, because as a man, we could be our own worst enemies when it comes to taking advantage of not having the other father there, and not realizing how much of an impact you can do with the child, to the point where they can be so enamored of you just being there, and they don't have the other father there. So when the other father there and you doing all this other good stuff, and the other father not there, you have to make sure you let them know, listen, that's still your dad and everything like that. So don't disrespect them and all that stuff, because at the end of the day, that's still a man, and when he's not there, you still have to show them somewhat of a respect, regardless of what's going on with the baby moms and everything. Because my thing is, I learned that it's not good to talk bad. It's a lot of stuff I learned to even be put in my position when when my kids are growing up now. it's hard, but me and my girl, we have disagreements. My beings, we have disagreements. We have to learn to try to walk away or wait till the kids. That's the hardest thing because you can have something in your mind that just irritates you. You can't lash it out because eventually when those kids get older or when those kids go out the door or go to school, you don't know when that thing gonna come out their head, and that anger could come out in school, that anger could come out in the daycare, all kind of stuff, and they're gonna be like, damn, this kid must be going through something bad at home, not realizing they not going through nothing bad. They seeing what the parent going through. And just to get back to the subject, I realized I made a, a humbling um a humbling reflection like a couple of weeks ago, just to realize um certain things I have to do for my child, I still have to do for the kids, but in the discretion of my baby mom. I can't make no moves unless I talk to her and communicate with her. You know what I mean? Because I have to, like y'all said, stay in my own lane, stay in my place where I can't have no say so or dictate what's going on with the other kids. So it's enlightening to understand the dynamics of all that, especially in this generation of we can't build or try to get married, and even that's a monopoly because I feel like right now if I do decide to get married, I'm not gonna be with the government marriage license and stuff. I'm gonna come up with an agreement with my significant other and tell her, hey, listen, we're gonna get married like this. If we decide to get a divorce or whatever, what we came in this situation with, we leaving this situation. I don't want nothing for you,
Good
you don't
luck.
want nothing for me. I
Good luck
just
with
want
that,
to
my
take
brother.
care of the kids. It's gonna be hard, but
Well, I'll tell
and
you,
as long as
hey, Mr. Renard, I'm gonna be honest with you, man, because I done seen this on 100 different times. I done seen men who love women and did exactly what you said, and I watched, and God forbid something happened and something did. I know one particular sweetheart, and she had a child for this man. And I know he loved her to death. He had bought a house with her, but they never got to the altar. And his sister and mama, who didn't like her, came in and took the house and left her on Section 8 and took the house and he gave her a dime and left his child and her in Section 8 and took his house and did what they want to do with it. And
wow,
so,
that's crazy. But
I
I
do
believe
tell
that.
you, that's really just a warning. And so what you think that will no, I'm like, listen, man, if you got certain institutions that exist for a reason, so to give, if you love that person, to give them the leverage to protect themselves, then go the route that's going to protect them as opposed to the route that you think that's going to protect them.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's make a lot of sense because there could be a lot of conniving family members, not
Oh
even a lot of
yeah.
because God forbid I'm gone tomorrow and my kids and the mother of my child or my wife, my future wife, get on hard times and I pass away. And God forbid, like you said, that's why it's a big monopoly stating that. That's why I even feel like we should, as men, we should even have wills because God forbid something happened to me and I try to and hypothetically speaking, I'm staying in the house and it's under my name and I didn't get married on time or something happened, my baby mama can't get the house. Like you said, my family got to get it. And then if they don't like my baby mama, now my kid and my baby mama gonna be on Section 8, or she gonna be in a homeless shelter or housing or whatever. I don't like that scenario. So I'm big on, and I work at the hospital, and one of my closest friends, my homeboy, he's an insurance or registration person in the hospital. He told me, listen, man, the number one thing that men have to do is have whole life insurance and speak to a lawyer that you trust to have a will, in-home will or some type of treasury to. You don't even have to have no financial money. If you have any valuables in your life, so your baby mama or your kids are at least good. At least your kids are good. Because at the end of the day, you don't know what's gonna transpire. Where God bless you with a vehicle, God bless you with a house and a property where you can have equity to the point where um, God take you tomorrow, and now somebody that's in your family take your valuables, and all of a sudden, out of spite, they don't want to give it to your baby mama or your kids. Now you screwed. Your kids screwed and your baby mama screwed. So that's
And you know
important
what,
to know.
Mr. Renard, I'm gonna tell you something. This is a great new topic for talking about our sponsor, Johnny Gaspar, Jag attorney, because actually he specializes in that kind of stuff. And we
I
gotta do
might I might have to talk to him.
yeah, we got to do a whole show around that because that's what he specializes. You're talking about the difference between having a will and a living will, which means you can have
Correct.
a
Correct.
living will.
100%.
Yeah, you can have a living will and watch things play out while you're still alive. You don't have to be dead for your will to still take its course. You can make sure it's going where it needs to go. I've seen a situation where this guy, a friend of mine, my cousin's friend, she had a baby daddy. He was killed in this complex. So the attorneys came and they sued the complex and won a significant amount of money for him. And so what? Now you're gonna love this podcast, and I gotta applaud the government for this. So what the government did was the government intervened when she got a nice lump sum, but before she can waste it, but the government said no. This the father of your child was killed. And so this money is for your child. And so what they did, they made the
I like
money,
that.
they made the mama the manager, but what they did is made sure she didn't mismanage the money. And so what they did was they set an amount for her to buy a house because they got a few $100,000, a couple $100,000. And so what they did, they put a certain amount for a house, and she was able to buy a house. But guess what? You're gonna love this part. She could never sell the house unless she buy another house. So the only way she can sell the house is she trade up for another house of equal value that's gonna be paid off for the house she sold.
Oh,
Literally,
that's a blessing.
the county government made sure that happened. I was like, damn, that's a blessed girl.
That's a blessed, and that's a blessed child too. That means
Correct.
that
There you
they
go.
never gonna be homeless, and they
Right.
always gonna have some money. And he will be the father probably not there, but he always gonna be successful because he's gonna be financially, at least financially stable in the long
Matter
run.
of fact, you're gonna love this part even better. That one, literally, she have about 3 or 4 kids. It was the one child which is her baby, the one child who father was killed. Whatever he got back housed all of them, her and her other children, and so she was able to sell the house down here that got a nice significant amount. And guess where she moved to and got a better house, a bigger house for the house she sold.
Where?
She moved straight to Atlanta and got a bigger house, garage, and everything. I'm like, God be the But
like a garage and everything.
It's a blessing. I'm just saying it for what it is. So I'm like, this is stuff that Jag, when we do the show around Jag, what he does and the importance of what he does, so we can get our business and get our paperwork in order as men.
I appreciate that because
Absolutely.
it's not what you know, it's who you know, man. And
Absolutely.
And that's what I'm talking about right there. That's why I'm
That's
glad I'm here.
absolutely our number one sponsor, and we're going to get that show soon as Jag has the time. Maybe even it might be a 2-part thing that we need to kind of really talk about, and Jag can bring some other attorneys on and talk about that. The kind of things that we need, and I'm telling you, these are the kind of things that we're not thinking about. Who is the executive of your estate? And guess what? You don't have to have some rich lawyer to be the executive of your estate. You can put all your stuff in writing. If it's in a letter you wrote somewhere, and you tell how you want your stuff to go and how it should go, it can exactly go. I mean, sometimes we got money that we don't even know we got, and when we pass away, it comes and it stays with whoever. You know, if the state keeps it, the federal government keeps it, because it's not dictated to go to anybody. You can write one letter saying that any money that owes to me will go to my oldest child, or it will go to my executor. They will divvy out that money equally among. Just those words in something signed by you means that any money comes, whatever has to happen, go to probate. Person will say, all you're going is $100,000. You're going to get equal shares of the $100,000. And some of the money is said to do that. Because I mean, you got it. You get to write it. You get to write what you want. Right? You can say, I want this to go here. I want this much here, and then the remaining much to go to doing this and that. And I say to people, listen. And I think, like on this, what you was alluding to, you can't be with people and leave them out in the cold. They might not sweat you about getting married. But we got too many resources today, right? We got, we live in a diverse world today. So you can go get a domestic partnership just so they can be covered. If that's what you're concerned about, you can do it. Anyway,
we're gonna say that. We're gonna say that for the show, though.
I'm gonna say that because I was gonna say you can do what somebody did with their partner. They adopted them and did not ensure that their partner would get all of their benefits because they adopted them they literally adopted them. And by their adopting them, that automatically made sure that anything they had was going to go to that person, even though that was their partner. With that being said, hey man, this has been a great conversation tonight. And like I said, my heart feels good. I want to thank you guys. Thank Ed. Thank Lightborn. Thanks Gene for coming on. I know you had to go, and definitely you, Vince. You really, at the end of the show, you brought us back to what the topic was really about, and what we really need to be focusing for a lot of people is that the difficulties of being a father who has baby mamas, and then what happens when you are the father of somebody else's children as a stepfather, and how that baby father feels about you, or how they feel and how you operate. I think that I'll say this, and we're going to close out, that I think as fathers, we have to realize that as much as you might not know what's going on with that other father, remember that if you was that father, you would want him to support you. So you should try to support him as much as you can, even if he resisted. Because even in the resistance, sometimes we are conformists when people push. We respond to how we look. If another father said man, you ain't what you doing. I can't get offended, but I will. I probably, if I'm gonna get offended, I'm gonna do something to him. It's because what he's saying is true, and I feel some way about it. And that I need to either step up. I live in being sorry. Live in the idea that another man is doing what you refuse to do, or you don't want to do, or you can't do. You can always you can tell them, hey man, I don't know how to do it. You want to help me do it? Now you pulling their card. Listen, like I say, look, iron sharpen iron. I leave it at that. Thanks everybody for joining us tonight. Father, repeat after me. I am.
I am.
I am.
I am.
I am a man of honor.
I am a man of honor.
I am.
I am.
I am.
I am.
I am a man of courage.
I am a man of courage.
I am a man of courage.
I am.
I am.
I am.
I am.
I am.
I am a man of respect.
I am a man of
respect.
Fathers, I say that I am.
I am.
I am.
I say, fathers, that you are.
You are.
Fathers, I say that we are.
We are.
Championship. What we always do, we keep our kids on our arms and our families on our back, and we keep talking as fathers should do, so we won't be under attack. And with that being said, we'll see y'all here next week, same time, same station. Well, not same station, same YouTube, same Facebook. Fatherhood Think Tank. See you. Good night. Good night. God bless.